complete history of space and time, Destination Milwaukee. We'll be right back after these messages.
The best pizza in town, the best 4 miles around. It's a Firo's. Since back in the 50s, it's been thrifty and nifty. Hey, it's a Firo's with a thin crust that's like manna from heaven, and grandma's still cooking in the kitchen. So come on down.
This is pizza.
It's the best in town.
Made fresh every day.
'Cause it's a Firo's for a taste that's hard to beat. The pizza will knock you off your feet. Zaffiro's, 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 Zaffiro's. Hey, que bella! Zaffiro's, 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 Zaffiro's. Buon appetito! Come on down, we got more than pizza. Zaffiro's, 1724 North Farwell, on Milwaukee's east side. Gonna get down on Locust Street, gonna have a little fun. Sitting there with Spider and the gang and drinks for everyone. 'Cause you know Glenn and Sue welcome you to Clingers. The Friday fish fry is all you can eat. The cheeseburgers there are hard to beat. Sheepshead games and poolies too. You know Glenn and Sue welcome you to Clingers. Come on down for a great time. It's where the street meets the groove. You'll be in a good mood when you're at Clingers. 'Cause you know Glenn and Sue welcome you to Clingers. Daily lunch specials 7 days a week. Clingers, 920 East Locust Street in Milwaukee's River West.
The city of Waukesha was, in many ways, just as important to the story of Sigmund Snopek III as the city of Milwaukee. Located just 18 miles west of Milwaukee, Waukesha was a considerably smaller community whose values were informed by its rural surroundings. Growing up in Waukesha, Sigmund began honing his craft at a young age, joining bands and writing his first compositions when he was still a teenager.
Sigmund is not typical at all, and so in that sense you think, well, why didn't he go national? Why didn't he go big? I don't know. I just think his musical omnivore self really encompassed a lot of the local. He didn't want to just be another Cream. He just did his own thing, and when you do your own thing and you're that unique, you probably stay local. He has stayed where he's mostly been from, and he migrated from an extremely conservative little satellite town to Milwaukee, Waukesha, which is one of the most famous conservative districts in the entire United States. If you want to talk national, it's like an epicenter of conservativeness in America. And here he builds this whole artistic persona, being, and everything. That's the kind of thing that makes somebody like me really admire Sigmund.
The city of Waukesha has its own identity, and some of that's Carroll College, so there was kind of a college atmosphere to part of the town. It was also quite heavily industrial, everything from generators, to Les Paul, so a musical tradition there as well. So it had kind of its own thing. Far enough from Milwaukee to not be, certainly it was a satellite in a lot of ways, part of the Milwaukee area, the greater Milwaukee metro area. But at the same time, it kind of had its own thing.
It was a thriving music community of places that had dances and places to go every Friday and Saturday night, if not more. We'd go out to Western Kettle Moraine in Waukesha, where these beautiful fields were. You'd go out there and there'd be a keg of beer, partying, and a band playing, which everyone wanted to be part of. And to be in a situation where to be a comedian, to be a musician, to be in the creative arts was legitimate and something we should do and value it. It's very important. And that, for me personally, inspired me. But then to see other people in town doing that too, from my upbringing at my own home, it was like, this is a good thing to do. We have to create. We have to make good music. And pick up a couple of bucks, make a living at it, and have some fun.
As Sigmund posed for the group photo, Tody was struck by how easily the musician blended in with his former classmates. Despite 5 decades of touring the world, partying with rock stars, and surviving on the strength of his own creativity, here Sigmund was just another face in the crowd of the Waukesha South class of 1968. The year 1968 was a famously tumultuous one in American history, with NASA's Apollo 8 orbiting the moon while riots and assassinations plagued the nation back on Earth. Sigmund's earliest recordings reflected the turmoil of his era, with songs expressing the longing for freedom and a young man's earnest concerns for the future of his nation. It was perhaps the only time in Sigmund's career that he was firmly tapped into the cultural zeitgeist, and it is all the more remarkable that he accomplished this from a place like Waukesha, Wisconsin. Few of his classmates could have imagined what awaited Sigmund shortly after graduation, when he experienced his first professional success with his new band, Bloomsbury People. Tody recognized that, in another universe, he might have been making a documentary solely on Bloomsbury People. This pioneering progressive rock band, whose members were all Midwestern teenagers, was signed to MGM Records and performed for 500,000 people, opening for Jimi Hendrix at the 1970 Atlanta Pop Festival. The band dissolved shortly after releasing their only album, but not before making a distinct impression on the local music scene.
I was always into hybrid rock bands like Soft Machine or Spirit and Procol Harum. They were combining different kinds of music. And Spirit happened to play out in Waukesha. Of course, we had to go see him. And the Bloomsbury People opened up for him. And I was like, wow, it was very interesting. They kind of stole the show, really. And there's Sig Wild playing on this Wurlitzer.
Hearing Bloomsbury People, there is a composerly mindset that would be extremely rare. But my goodness, on that album, it's like there's all these transitions between songs that are so artfully done. It's almost like his version of Abbey Road. But the things he was doing, I think, the keyboard things, the compositional things, and the arranging things, because there's strings eventually on the closing song, that is like, it's beyond the time period. It's just what art rock is about. It's not just trying to be Yes, which I don't think had even bloomed then. his version of the same thing. He was doing stuff that really stretched music in a way that I think was not just to try to show off how weird you could be, but just to really do that adventuresome, composerly, let's do what we can with these 5 or 6 rock band instruments.
Tody had set out to make a documentary on Sigmund Snopek in the expectation that it would be a relatively straightforward endeavor. But the more that the filmmaker learned about the musician, the more the story circled back, threatening to devour itself like the mythical snake that eats its own tail. This was why, in the midst of Sigmund's reunion, Tody's mind returned to his previous encounter with the city of Waukesha, when he and Milky had made their first trip to work on the documentary in the spring of 2018. At the time, Tody had given the city little thought, but with all that he had learned in the intervening months, it was clear that Waukesha was yet another crucial window into the mystery of Sigmund Snopek III.
Sound that happens during your composition becomes part of the composition. They thought they were spoofing us, but they were actually cooperating with my wishes. happens every time you pick up a flute. Somebody has to yell out "tall," as if he was the only flute player in the whole world.
He's the most visible.
This is the 5 points, the famous 5 points. Waukesha was built on Indian trails. They met here. They had the big powwow here. This is Aurora, 927 Aurora, where I grew up. We moved here in 1957, and then I left here for Milwaukee in 1971. And that's where we used to play baseball, where all those apartments are. We played baseball, and then I would be down here practicing piano. My mom will tell you some stories about that. We used to sit on the top of the building there and stare at the stars and the moon. This brings back the memories. Came around the corner and grabbed me by the neck. Must have been my imagination. It was a tall black thing. It looked like one of those people that, the shadow people.
Can I get a shot of you right in front of the house?
Sure.
Can you tell us the story again with Bob here with the sound on about the poltergeist or the ghost?
Yeah, I was babysitting for my brothers and sisters. They had all passed out. A really spooky movie came on. I think it was a really spooky version of Dr. Cadaverino. And I was really afraid. I was sitting in the chair and I was just like petrified. And suddenly something came around the corner and grabbed me by the neck, and I kind of like, I felt all this hot energy. And its top was black. It kind of would shoot. It kind of shot out like a kind of a dark black crown of some sort, and then it disappeared. Thank God. But I couldn't move out of the chair until Mom and Dad came home. They were just out, at a party or something. So that's the story. And my sister's here knocking and stuff at night, and so yeah, there was definitely something going on in this house. But may still be.
Sigmund's story reminded Toady that Waukesha was home to another infamous ghost story, the Slender Man stabbing of 2014, when two young girls, obsessed with the internet urban legend of Slender Man, lured their friend into the woods and stabbed her 19 times as a sacrifice to the imaginary godlike figure. Toady wondered whether this was a simple coincidence or if there was something about this place, Waukesha, that made its residents unusually susceptible to otherworldly suggestions. Sigmund's music was filled with references to spirits and visions, the most dramatic of which was his 1972 album, Virginia Woolf.
Well, I first saw Sigmund in the fall of 1970. His band was playing at University of Sauk County, Baraboo. They had one album out on MGM, and they pretty much played the whole thing in about a 45-minute set, plus they ended with a song called Virginia Woolf, which was not on that album. And that was kind of a circus song ending where they all kind of wandered off stage singing, "We're all living in the trees," and all that. So it was a cool way to end.
Everybody in the old days thought he was on acid and stuff, and not at all. He didn't do drugs whatsoever when we played in the old days. He and I did a lot of recording because I was a recording engineer for a living. So I had keys to a couple studios, and we'd go in at 8 o'clock at night and leave at 6 in the morning and get home just in time to go to school, so and we'd record like crazy.
It was really fun. Sig was a lot of fun to work with, and our singing was fun, and we'd all be singing. I was like, okay, I'm in a crazy band now. It was like I never read music, so I was like, ooh, Sig's writing real music. And I was totally like, boy, this is really, can I do this, Am I good enough or whatever?
So there was that period probably into the early 70s where he was really taking that adventuresome leap where he was being like a composer, but a composer pretty much within a progressive rock band.
He's got a genius to him, yeah, definitely. I think the period of 72 to 82, the perseverance and the dedication and just the creativity, I'd say those are genius years, yes. Sig always knows I'm his biggest fan, so, I love songwriters. I'm between Brian Eno and John Lennon, and Brian Wilson thrown in there a little, or the Kinks, Ray Davies, and I just think Sig is up there, absolutely.
The highlight of Virginia Woolf is a two-part composition titled Orange Blue, which, in addition to its appearance on the album, Sigmund also fully orchestrated and performed with the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra in 1971.
I always did love Orange Blue.
Orange Blue.
The Orange Blue. Orange Blue really impressed me.
Of course, Orange Blue is great. I was there at the symphony when that was performed, and that was just quite amazing, I was really young then.
Orange Blue is, I think, nothing short of a masterpiece. It starts with the song Orange, which is a combination of this very lilting, dreamlike figure of music, and then boom, swings right into jazz, and then comes back into the dreamlike music, and then back into jazz. He took you on this wild trip in that song through all kinds of very complex rhythmic changes, and there were many classical music overtones in that piece. I wish I knew the terms better. It was terrific, and then it ended, and I remember looking at my friends. We both went, wow, that was amazing. And at this point, we're all convinced, oh God, this guy's going to be a superstar. He's going to be huge.
I set my sights high and with determination. If you believe in yourself, you need only reinforce all of your dreams. Les Paul. I never knew Les Paul. I could have talked to him out in New York, but I never made it to his club. However, I knew a blind piano tuner, Harry Smith, who grew up with Les Paul and told me stories about him, which I subsequently have forgotten. And where is my music teacher buried? Frida Hart.
Should be right around the corner over there.
Right over there? This is his whole biography of his life. You know, when I was in high school here in Waukesha, none of the music teachers told us anything about Les Paul. I had to find out from a friend of mine who was playing a Les Paul guitar. So I don't know if it was out of jealousy or out of ignorance, but how could you be a music teacher in Waukesha and not know about Les Paul? But here he lays. What a gorgeous day to visit Les, huh? I can hear his music ringing in my ears right now. How high the moon? Let's see where Frida is. Can't find her. She's around here somewhere.
What's the last name?
Frida Hart.
Frida Hart. H-A-R-T. R-T. Does she have is it a flat stone or a?
I could have sworn that it was a big one, but
Okay.
I guess I should have done some research first. We can always check it out later.
And who is Frida?
Frida was my first piano teacher. Started taking lessons with her, I believe, in 1958, and took lessons for 8 years, if not longer. 58, it would have been 64. I took lessons through grade school.
Train a ride, 16 coaches long.
I like that song.
Train, 16 coaches long.
This summer we'll have to go get my dad's, because it'll be Sigmund Snopek pointing at Sigmund Snopek.
Yeah.
It'll be pointing me. That's us, yeah. Whoops.
It's warm in here. Toasty. Toasty elevator.
So this is where my mom lives now, and named after actually the piano piece I wrote before this place existed. So another spooky thing at the river's edge.
Yeah, better than being named after the movie.
Right.
The view is gorgeous.
It's a good place to spend your last times. Hello. This is Nick, and this is Bob.
Here's the crew. Hi.
Bob is an author. He's the guy who wrote that book that I'm in.
Hi, Denise. Oh. Hi.
This is my mom.
Yeah.
Hi.
Shirley Snopek. Shirley Reisig Snopek.
Oh. Yes.
Bob and Nick.
So you all around?
Yeah,
Did you look around town?
We went to Les Paul's grave and downtown street.
And these guys are the reason why my Christmas display is still up.
Oh.
Because I wanted them to see it.
Yeah.
And they saw all of your painting?
Well, here you see all the children.
Yep.
Want to see Siggy when he graduated? There.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
Right over here. And there's our dad. We're over at the house.
Were you?
I talked to somebody who was a roommate there or something.
Oh,
There's
yeah?
just two guys living there now.
Every Saturday in the summer, Sig would go out and he'd fry chicken. And they're all in order. There's Siggy, and this is J. John, and this is Robin Rose, and that's Allison Ann, and that's Mark Drew, Randy Paul, Timothy Patrick, and Sean Joseph. Each one of those guys have gotten honors too.
You want to give them a tour of your place?
Sure.
All right. This is your Indian stuff?
Oh yeah.
I'm going to see what we have. Excuse me.
I had my piano here, but I gave it to Siggy, and then I got this bench to go here. And I got that from Tommy Lee. He was a native flute player, because we always went to Indian Summer down at Summerfest, and also Irish Fest. We never missed Irish Fest.
Sigmund's mother, Shirley, took a moment to adjust to being on camera, but once she did, she talked to the filmmakers without stopping for most of the afternoon, showing off her artworks, telling stories from her years of travel, and bragging about the accomplishments of her 8 children. What emerged was the story of a woman who was clearly a proud mother, but, like many Midwestern mothers of her generation, was also haunted by the opportunities that she had sacrificed for the sake of her family. It was an emotional afternoon, more emotional than Toady had anticipated, and the filmmaker sensed that this was exactly what Sigmund had wanted, to give his mother the audience that she had always deserved.
She could have been an entertainer herself. In fact, I remember her telling us she went on a cruise to Alaska, and then they had her sing a song every dinner time. That she has a beautiful voice, and so that she was practically part of the show. Given different circumstances, I'll bet she might have gone into entertaining.
Yeah, she's very talented. Sigmund has, talked about how great of a pianist she is. We've also seen some of her visual artwork that she does. But yeah, long story short, I think Shirley makes sense in the context of Sigmund, or vice versa.
Oh yeah, and if you had met his dad, you would say the same thing. He and my dad were twins, but they were opposite in looks and personality. Siggy's dad was short, dark. My dad was tall, blonde. His dad was like the class president. He ran for mayor. So his dad was very, very outgoing, breaking the song, at the bars and things too.
Sig really, 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 really loves his family. And Sig came from one of the most supportive families I've ever encountered. His mom and dad were just saints, just wonderful, sweet, lovely people.
We knew of the Snopek family, and they knew of the Hansen family, and many other families from town. And that was a big thing. There were families in that town that help kind of hold things together, like any community has. And families have certain character, the whole family overall. Oh, the Snopeks, they're kind of creative bunch, which is something that's nice to be known for.
Our family had a love for music. Our parents loved it, and Siggy did. And I think before my recollection, he spent a lot of time helping raise the family, because that's how it is when you're in a bigger family like that. The older ones usually help raise the younger ones too, So I think that's just all part of that, you know.
He was the firstborn of 8 kids. And I don't think you get much attention because you can't. How can you? And his mom was really nice, his parents. I like his parents a lot. And I can imagine needing more, actually, from a mother or something. And we all have deficits from our childhood. And Sig was just a dynamic, energetic, obsessive artist. I mean, this stuff just poured out of him. So I think that his childhood had a lot to do with that.
And then with the car, we told him, if you use your gas money for foolish stuff, and you don't have enough gas to put in your car to get you where you have to go, we're not going to take you. You're going to have to find another way to get there, or you're going to have to walk, because if you waste your gas money, we're not giving you money for that.
You co-signed for me to buy that harpsichord.
Well, yeah, we always co-signed when we were sure that they had enough money to
make a payment. Then we would always co-sign so they could get it, and they always paid us to get that running. That's really
each month the amount of money.
Well, good. I think, Mom, do we have enough stuff, you guys?
That it was. And remember, back then there was no automatic wash machine, there was no automatic dryer, and I had 12 dozen cloth diapers.
Oh, dear
I had
God.
4 children that were in diapers at one time. And then on Friday, I'd make a big bowl of coleslaw, and then when Sig came home, if we were going to have fried fish or shrimp, if we could have it, then he did that. But like during the week, when they came home, the meal was all made. And not only that, I did the shopping, I had a menu, I made out the menu. When I washed the clothes, all of the boys' underwear, they were all color-coded. So I knew whose underwear belonged to who.
Yeah.
So when I washed and they came home from school, then they had to carry those containers upstairs and put those away. So, and I've been to Canada, crisscross.
My only question is, what color was Siggy's underwear?
Oh, I don't remember anymore.
Here's a toast to Shirley Snopek, Shirley Reisig, Shirley Behan, all 3 of them.
Yes, all the above.
Oh boy.
The mother of 8 crazy kids.
Yeah.
and
kids. 14 grandkids and
here's to you, Mom. We love you.
7 great grandkids.
7 grades.
Thank you.
Good job.
And you and Sigmund are you right at the same age, or are you one older, one younger?
He's about 6 months older than I am. We have a picture of us. We're all about 1 year old, sitting on a table, someone's birthday. So it seems that Siggy and I have been around with kind of kindred spirits. We can not see each other for years, and then just kind of pick up where we left off. He lived in Waukesha. We were in St. Francis. So the distances in those days, kids didn't talk on a telephone. So you had to catch up real quick at whatever family gathering. Sometimes we'd write long letters to each other on what we were thinking or what we were planning. I wish we had some of those letters now, but basically it was what we were doing and what we were dreaming about, and it was usually something space or flying saucers or Buck Roger-ish sort of thing. He would keep elaborate scrapbooks of all kinds of the news and little articles in the green sheet. There'd be how we'd be living on the moon or where we'd be vacationing on Mars and things like that. He introduced me to the Estes rockets probably at age 11 or 12, somewhere around there. And then I started a rocket club, and he started a rocket club in Waukesha. And then we'd bring the 2 groups together sometimes for tournaments. It seems, as I wrote in my book, it probably only lasted maybe a year and a half, but it so consumed us that we were sure we were going to be building our own rocket ships and one way or the other get into space.
So for
In 2005, Russell Snopek published his novel, My Science Fiction Autobiography. which, as its title suggests, tells the story of its author's life with one significant difference. In the universe of the novel, Russell Snopek is an astrophysicist who is pioneering new technologies and exploring the cosmos. His research is funded through the phenomenal success of Russell's cousin, Sigmund Snopek III, the world-famous musician who, in this universe, is one of the wealthiest people in the history of his planet.
So much propaganda too we were under in the 60s. You know, all the schools, everything was, they had to catch up with the Russians. So not only were we hiding under our desks for the, you know, to be safe from the atomic bombs, we were also being programmed or exposed to all this propaganda about how we had to all be astronauts and we had to all be space scientists. And I just gobbled it up. And so then I started writing, and it was almost as if getting the satisfying that young desire that I had. So I put together ways that it could possibly have come about. And using Siggy as the financier, he was the Michael Jackson, the Elon Musk sort of character. So I kind of all rolled this into Sigmund to make him this wealthy person. So he would provide the financial backing. The Soviet Union was dissolving. There was options to get technology and things there, almost the way it's turned out to be today.
Sigmund's interest in science fiction is most prominent in his 1974 album Trinity Seas, a project that he has revisited multiple times throughout his career.
I went to see Sigmund play in 1974. At that point, it was only the second concert I had ever been to. He was performing the music from Trinity Seas, which was a ridiculous space rock opera, kind of sprawling jazz, classical, rock, and dance and theater kind of work, very typical of the 60s, I guess. But the 60s didn't really happen in Milwaukee until the 70s, so, you know, it was just in a timely fashion.
No, I know he loves space things, and so that really interested him, the Trinity Seas thing, and I don't know, I think that's from his mind, the bubble freaks and all that, and I don't know where that came from, because he must have just been sleeping one night and it came to his head or something.
Well, yeah, Sigmund always was a little more onto the fantasy side. He was a little more into ghosts and spirit and that sort of thing. Which I was not, but we overlapped. But that it does seem very typical Sigmund to be more fantasy, more spirit kind of oriented. Not that he didn't make the same models and shoot the same things, but there's always the little UFO side on him.
Trinity Seas is an intergalactic parable about freedom and control, telling the story of an extraterrestrial who lives in the disguise of a human for so long that he has forgotten his alien heritage. While attending a wedding in Waukesha, Wisconsin, he is abducted by other aliens, remembers his true identity as a bubble freak, and returns to his home planet, Seas. A series of battles ensue, escalating until a hole is ripped in the space-time continuum, revealing the secrets of the universe.
Musically, Trinity Seas had some great players on it. The bass player was a fabulous bass player, David Phillips, and he played bass for the Milwaukee Symphony. And he had a big white beard, and he played in a bag. He had like a paper bag on, and then we had shiny suits and things on. It was really, and we were wearing real futuristic outfits, And that was kind of fun. It was outside.
That was just an incredible experience for me. I think that's like Sig's best work, that whole thing. I don't know about the story or the lyrics again. I mean, the bubble freaks, but we had so much fun. And we could try different things. I was playing the guitar with a light bulb. You can hear that on the... And the chords were just wonderful. Sig was just, it was pouring out of him. And I loved that period, and I could be a part of that. It was 1976, and Sig had a grant from the bicentennial something. Yeah, he got a grant, and It was a great project for him, and it included dancers, the choreographer, and we wore like makeup around our eyes, and it was just really fun, more like space robes. But the songs were taken from Trinity Seas. It was sort of the music from that, but in a whole different, it turned into a love story, where she, the Orbites come from space, and then the Orbite finally, she dies at the end, and Sig does this amazing death song. It's just beautiful. I'm dying and I don't know why, and it's just like chills. I mean,
I heard them all singing, I heard them all grieve. My soul was stolen, put in a clip. My soul was stolen, we left in their ship. I saw Waukesha windows, they were moving down from the sky.
The last song, of course, we did back then too, and Sig said, well, this is the last song of the whole thing, but I have to write the second part, and that came years later.
In the year 1999, Sigmund completed the Trinity Seas project with the help of over 20 collaborators from over the course of his career. The result was an expanded 2-disc CD that gave the story a proper ending, 25 years after the release of the original LP.
Sig he was always like, I'm going to write an opus, It was always like too much. It was almost, not really, but for him it wasn't too much, of course. He had this plan and he was going to finish it, and that's what he did.
Back in the fall of 2018, Sigmund is performing a public concert in downtown Waukesha. There are some familiar faces from the Waukesha South High School reunion, and Sigmund seems genuinely happy to be performing for his former classmates. But Toady can't quite tell what the audience makes of Sigmund. How many of them are actually interested in his music, and how many are just there out of curiosity or politeness or any other motivation? Toady wonders what the crowd might think of Sigmund's career. Do they view him as a success? Do they view him as a failure? Given the enormous promise of his career in the early 70s, what do his peers make of the fact that he remains virtually unknown half a century later?
Why isn't he better known? Wow. I guess what I would say, I think that his business sense is non-existent. That would be the first thing. I think that it's an odd case of every career move he's made has been problematic. But Sigmund is really amazingly, it would almost look like self-destructive. The choices that he's made, economically, like his manager said, quit doing prog rock, which is, and maybe a corollary for why he's not better known is because there's a lot of dumb people in Milwaukee that he's dealt with. That was bad advice, and he was too young to not follow it. When he started doing novelty comic things, see, those first few albums are utterly devoid of comedy. especially Nobody to Dream, which is about death and getting old. And, for a 17-year-old, he was definitely an old soul when he penned that little thing.
Nobody to Dream, I must say. I enjoyed playing on it and doing it. But that was a romantic thing that was Sig, pure Sig. I mean, he even put on the album lyrical assistance by me, and that is so not true. I tried to help, but I couldn't help it. It was saccharine. It was true. It was Sig's soul. I mean, and then Jim Gorton singing it. My dream with me, and it was like, I loved it.
And the second time I saw him live was opening for Patti Smith at the Oriental Theater in the spring of 1976, and touring behind Nobody to Dream. I heard the live Nobody to Dream when I was on the strongest dose of LSD I ever took. I think I did probably 4,500 to 5,000 micrograms. I was so fucked up at the Patti Smith show. I mean, I actually tried to climb on stage to join her for the encore. Time is on my side, and my friends had to restrain me from getting up on stage with her. I was sitting like in the third row center. It kicked in during Snopek, but it went really nuts. I mean, I had one other trip where it was bad, but that was the most intense. But my point being, Nobody to Dream sounded great.
I was a senior in high school, and I was president of a local key club, and we had this big winter dance at Baraboo High School every year called Blue and Gold Day, and I booked what I thought was Bloomsbury people for a show in February, first Saturday in February of '71. By the time they actually got there, Bloomsbury people was no more. They had broken up. The thing almost got canceled, but we went ahead with it, and it was in the high school cafeteria, and it was not a dance. It was not dance music. It was original Sigmund Snopek music performed with just keyboards and an occasional woodwind instrument or saxophone, and beautiful harmonies, beautiful vocal harmonies. The centerpiece was a rock cantata, or if you want to call it that, that he had just composed. He was very excited about, called Nobody to Dream. It was absolutely hypnotic, and we talked about that show for months afterwards, because we had just seen a guy in our little old hometown of Baraboo, Wisconsin, who was every bit as gifted as Keith Emerson or Rick Wakeman of Yes, or really any of the top keyboard players of any of the top rock bands of the day. This guy was right there.
Well, I have a question. In Russell Snopek's fantastic book, he imagines an alternate universe where Sigmund is like a kind of a combination of Paul McCartney and Lee Iacocca, and fabulously rich and an icon of industry and stuff. And he says in the afterword of the book, I had this because at the time, when I was watching Sigmund and the Family doing all of his stuff, I thought, this could have happened. We don't have to single anybody out, like or something, but you look and you see sometimes people that have palpably less musical gifts than he does, who are farting through silk, and I guess what's it all about, Alfie? I'm just trying to make sense of in other words, this kind of it seems like the universe is peculiar in this respect. I mean, I think that's what Russell's book is sort of reflecting.
Right.
And I just,
Well, don't forget that people like and what's her name, the pop princess? Well, any of them. Their structures built from the music machine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that they didn't have some talent on their own, but they had a certain look. They had a certain persona that the music industry was trying to push at any given moment, and said, "Oh, you're going to be our next star," and molded them into that. Sig's one brush with the music machine was Bloomsbury people, and the band broke up after a year because they were all kids and couldn't deal with that kind of thing. And that album is fantastic. So the alternate universe thing is kind of a cool theory, but I think there's a certain person that can actually become a gajillionaire in the sense, and that's because they allow themselves to be, completely overwritten by what the music industry is doing with them.
Are you saying that could have happened with Sigmund, or you just think that that's not in the cards with Sigmund for personality-wise or something?
Oh, I don't think that was ever in the cards for Sigmund. He was always very conscious of what something was supposed to sound like and how he wanted to sound like, and he had to be the driver of that.
Yeah. Do you think that is? I mean, I personally think that that's part of why I'm interested in him as a subject matter for this movie, and interested in his music in general, is that sort of weird, tough to classify element of it. But do you think that there's any part of that narrative that isn't to be applauded? Like, do you think he shot himself in the foot with those same instincts, or do you think that it's?
No, I don't think so. I think he's always been true to his craft. And if you want to be a commercial success, I think those are two very different states. I don't think you can be true to yourself in your craft and be a commercial success. Or at least nobody I know has done it well.
Skip the light fandango, drink cartwheels across the floor.
Snopek was really unique in the unbelievable potential that he had in the early 70s. His best stuff in those days. And I listened to all the other stuff that was going down. It wasn't just comparable to Yes or Frank Zappa. It was better. It was lighter. It was jazzier. It was more eclectic. It took you on unexpected twists and turns, and it was really it was some of the best stuff that was ever around in those days. And unfortunately, very few people ever got to hear it. If the right person had got a hold of him, he would and recorded. He would be an elder statesman of progressive rock that would be a world famous guy. There's no doubt in my mind.
Face first just ghostly, turn the whiter shade of pale.
cross that off my bucket list. I wanted to sing this song on Main Street in Waukesha. Since the 60s, I wanted to do that. It took a while, but here we are. Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Good night.